Hey friends, Gary here, welcome to today's video. So recently I just got back from Medan, Indonesia to visit some relatives as well as to attend a wedding. Photography is not the main purpose of this trip, however I still brought my Micro Four Thirds camera and lens. I brought just the Panasonic Lumix GX850 and for the lens I just brought the Panasonic Lumix 14mm f2.5. Nothing else, and I was able to capture some photos while I was there. And the question is this setup more than flexible enough to capture all the different kinds of stuff that I want during this trip? Do I feel like I miss my other lenses, and how does this setup perform during the trip? Let's find out in today's video. Now let's start with the reasoning of why I brought only this little camera and just one simple prime lens. Again, photography isn't the highest priority on this particular trip. In fact, I wasn't even planning to take any pictures at all with my camera. Camera and lenses weren't on my mind when I was planning this trip. But again, as some of you guys might already know, I'm a Micro Four Thirds user, and with Micro Four Thirds, we have some options for smaller cameras and lenses. So I thought to myself, well, let's just carry a small camera and one small prime lens just in case I want to take some pictures. So I come up with this setup, the GX850 and the 14mm, and because this is so small and lightweight, I was able to put it inside my carry-on backpack, which is limited to 7 kg because I was traveling with airplane. And yeah, it doesn't take that much space and it doesn't eat into the weight at all. Now with the camera, it is pretty straightforward why I chose the GX850. It's because it is small and lightweight. It is a Micro Four Thirds camera, and the image quality, which we will discuss later on, is more than good enough for this particular requirements for casual travel photography. However, some of you guys might already thinking right now, what about the lens? Why do you choose a prime lens? Why don't you just use a zoom lens? It is more versatile. And yes, you guys are right. I was about to bring my Panasonic Lumix 12 to 32mm kit lens that can zoom. It is more versatile, no doubt about it. You can have different focal lengths with just one single lens. But I thought to myself, maybe I will capture some pictures in lower light condition, maybe inside a restaurant, maybe inside a coffee shop. And also I want to do a little bit of portraits of my relatives and also my wife. So bringing a lens with a larger aperture makes more sense for me, and that's why I chose 14mm f2.5. The f2.5 aperture is slightly larger compared to the kit lens, so I can do a little bit better in lower light situation, as well as to get extra background blur. Now allow me to share some photos that I captured using this particular setup from my Medan trip. And yeah, this is the most exciting part of this video. I don't just talk about camera and lens, but I want to show you what the camera and lens can produce, the results. Hopefully these photos can speak for themselves in terms of image quality. However, let me say that I'm more than happy with the image quality of this particular setup. Micro Four Thirds has always been in the sweet spot in my opinion. Maybe it's not technically the best of the best, however it is more than good enough for me. Certainly it is so much better compared to just using my smartphone's camera, and I'm glad that I brought my Micro Four Thirds camera and lens to my Medan trip. Anyway, all of these pictures were taken either using aperture priority or shutter priority if I'm doing a little bit of street photography. And as you can see, some of these pictures are street photos, some of them are like a little bit of sceneries, snapshots, and also quick portraits of my wife. Nothing really serious, but this is the kind of travel photos that I like to get when I'm not really, you know, in a beautiful location, a landscape, nature kind of location. This is the kind of pictures that I tend to gravitate toward. Now, let me share some things that I love from this particular GX850 and 14mm setup. And first thing that I like is how compact and how lightweight this setup is. I mean, when you see it on this video, when I'm holding it on my hand, you can really appreciate the sense of scale, how small and tiny it is. It almost fits on the palm of my hand. However, when it comes to the weight, you have to experience it yourself. You have to find one and hold it on your hand to truly appreciate the lightweightness of this setup. This is almost like a miracle. It feels almost like nothing inside of your travel backpack or your camera sling bag. When you are traveling, having something small and lightweight is very important because you have to walk a lot, and carrying something that's heavy is gonna be a burden for you. So something like this is truly appreciated. Another thing that I love from this setup is the 14mm focal length. Surprisingly, it is very versatile. I was able to capture so many different kinds of things with just one single lens. I think that is wonderful because when you're traveling, you want something that is versatile. You don't want something that's too specific because you want to capture different kinds of things and you don't want to miss out on any moment. And I think 14mm is perfect for that. It is moderately wide so you can capture sceneries, a little bit of landscape easily, but when you want to get close, you want to get tight, it can still perform really well, especially for street photography, environmental portrait, food photography, product photography, things like that. It's just wonderful. I really recommend 14mm for travel photography. Another thing that I like from this setup is that I learned to let go. As I mentioned before, I only have one single lens and one focal length, 14mm. Although it is flexible, I still cannot capture everything with this lens. And that's actually a good thing. I am less stressed about capturing photos with this setup because I know that I cannot capture everything, so I can just focus only on the moments and the pictures that really matter. Everything else I can just let go, and I have a more mindful, enjoyable experience overall taking pictures during this trip. And that leads me nicely of why I like this setup. It's because it's so fun and enjoyable to use. The combination of this camera and this lens creates a nice package with its own mojo and characters. And it's very tactile. When you hold it on your hands, you feel the buttons, the dials. When you want to change settings or set up the camera in a certain way, it feels so nice just to do that, to interact with the camera. And then when you start taking pictures, the camera is very responsive. It doesn't get in your way at all. And that makes it into a really fun experience overall when you start shooting with this camera. I like it so much. Another thing that I like from this setup is that because the camera and lens are so small and it doesn't look like a professional camera, you know, the setup is very low-key and inconspicuous. I think that is very important when you are traveling. You don't want to draw too much attention when you are using a pro-level gear that looks like a proper professional camera. Then people will start to look at you, you will draw attention, maybe petty crime like theft or pickpocket will become attracted to you, and you don't want that at all. With something like this, as long as you are using common sense and you still be careful with your surroundings, people aren't going to notice you too much. You can capture pictures without people feeling uncomfortable. And I think that will add into a nicer travel photography experience overall. Now, before I end this video, I just want to share my point of view regarding healthy exercise. A reasonable amount of restriction and challenge can help to bring out more creativity. And that's exactly what's happening with my particular GX850 and 14mm setup, especially with just this one single focal length. This setup restricts you and challenges you in a healthy way, forcing me to be very creative when it comes to taking pictures and then coming up with good shots. And I think that helps me to grow as a photographer. I think you should do this too. I really recommend this challenge, this restriction. Stick with just one lens for a few weeks and just go out of your comfort zone. try to come up with good shots with just that one single lens, and I guarantee you in a few days you'll start to feel that creativity juice flowing back into your soul. As I already told you many times, photography isn't just about getting the perfect photos or buying the latest, greatest, newest cameras or lenses. It is also about having fun, enjoying our photography time. And by having a little exercise like this, using just one prime lens for a few days, I think it can really help to add more fun and enjoyment into our lovely photography hobby. And that wraps up today's video. So that is all my experience using just one camera, the GX850, and one lens, 14mm, for my trip to Medan, Indonesia, and taking some casual travel pictures. Hopefully this has been fun, inspiring, and enjoyable for you. Now I want to hear more from you. Share on the comment down below, please. Let me know what is your lens of choice if you're only allowed to use one lens for a few weeks. Let's have a little bit of a discussion down below on the comments. And if you have any question, please comment down below as well. I will try my best to answer them. Also, don't forget to support my channel by liking this video, sharing this video, subscribing to my channel down below. And if you want to support my work even further, consider using the affiliate links also down on the description below. Use the super thanks button to make a small donation to my channel, or purchase my travel photography ebook, Simplifying Travel Photography, link also on the description down below. Thank you, and I will see you on the next video. Goodbye.